This is the Monday, March 10th, 2025's Bennington Select Board meeting. We're in the third floor multipurpose room. And I want to welcome you all tonight. You had other places to be on such a nice night. So thanks for being here. My name is Jeannie Jenkins. For 2 more meetings, I have the pleasure of chairing this board, and I'll ask my fellow board members to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Nancy White.
Hey, good evening, Sarah Perrin. You're not changing your name after 2 meetings, are you?
Oh, is it? Did I say that?
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm Ed Woods.
I'm Tom Haley.
Good evening, Clark Adams.
Jean Connor.
Ooh. Who's the static? All right. We'll see. So also with us tonight is the Assistant Town Manager, Dan Monks, Nancy Lively, who takes excellent minutes at every meeting, and we have had many of them, and Cat TV, who is here filming us live, and we are very appreciative of that. We will start this evening, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Ed, would you lead us?
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ed. Tom, would you please read our vision statement that guides our work?
Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Thank you very much. All right, next up is the consent agenda, and we have 4 sets of minutes, and we're going to take those separately because not everyone was able to be at all those meetings. So could I have, for the purposes of discussion, could I have a motion to accept the minutes of September 19th? Wow, February 19th. That was good.
Motion to accept.
Let's please not go back to September.
Yeah, it's good.
Motion to accept.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. All right, any discussion on the minutes of February 19th? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstaining.
2 abstentions, Tom and Ed. Okay. All right. Thank you. Next set of minutes. Could I have a motion to, for the purposes of discussion, could I have a motion to accept the minutes of February 21st?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain, Sarah Perrin.
Okay, thank you.
Abstain.
2 abstentions, all right. All right, for the purposes of discussion, could I have a motion to accept the minutes of February 24th?
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? Yes, Nancy.
On page 11, from 361, I think it goes on to the next page. Well, 361 to 384, I question some of the answers I received, so I will be voting no on the minutes.
Are the minutes
I'm sorry?
incorrect?
These are the minutes. All these do is tell us what happened at the meeting. It's not whether you agree with the conclusion or not.
Well, I don't think the answers I received were accurate, so I can't.
Nancy, the minutes reflect the actual happenings of the meeting. If there is something that is not correct in the minutes, we ought to correct them.
Is this a correct rendition of what you said?
It is there were some answers that officials gave that I don't believe were accurate.
That's not what we're doing. That's a different
Okay.
problem. So what we're doing now is voting on whether these minutes accurately reflect what happened in the meeting. All right? Is there anything that's not accurate in what was said at the meeting?
Because if there is, we should correct it.
Because these become the permanent document
Well, I
of
thought
what
when I've done
happened.
that before, you've said I've had to bring it up in other business.
No, no, we can't have discussion in other business, first of all. And second, no, what we are doing right now is determining whether these minutes accurately reflect the conversation in the meeting. Not whether you agree with it or not, but whether it accurately reflects what happened in the meeting. Does it?
So you ask what color the sky is. I say it's blue. Is that accurate? If it is, it's yes.
Okay.
You may not like the answer.
But when I questioned on line 375 about money being given to the Ben High project based on applications for grants and tax credits saying Meals on Wheels would be there. In line 377, Stu said there was never a grant specific for the location of Meals on Wheels.
Correct.
I believe there are grants that say Meals on Wheels would be there.
So Nancy, so that's a difference in fact, and whether I personally think you are accurate or not really doesn't matter. All we're doing right now is determining whether these minutes accurately reflect what was said in the meeting. Okay? Beyond that, you should sit down with the town manager and further go through that. He has, you know, Shannon and Stu have all the grants that were applied for, so they can show you whether there are any that actually count on Meals on Wheels being at, that the grant funding depends on Meals on Wheels being part of that grant. That's a very different discussion, and I encourage you to have that with Stu, and he can bring in Shannon. But this is just, all we're doing right now is determining whether the minutes are accurate.
So here's the difference. If Stu didn't say that, if Stu said something different, then that would need to be corrected. That's what Stu said. So therefore, the minutes for that particular issue that you're raising, the minutes are accurate. That's the difference.
Even though I've been provided a grant?
It doesn't matter. If Stu said that, that's what should be in the minutes, and it is.
I understand that. I'm questioning.
We don't need to go into it any further.
Okay, Jean. 2 more meetings.
And just, I empower you to vote however you want. Where each individual is elected by bodies, so feel free how to vote however you want.
Right, but you should be voting on the correct, you should be voting on the correct thing. Right now, we're voting on minutes. So, any other discussion around these minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor of the February 24th minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nancy's opposed. Any abstentions? No abstentions, good, okay. All right, last set of minutes. February 27th minutes, could I have a motion for the purposes of discussion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
Thank you. All right, any discussion on these minutes? Yes?
I have to abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay, that's discussion. All right, so hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Nancy's abstaining. Thank you very much. All right, so next up are the warrants and licenses. Could I have a motion to accept the warrants and, yes, the warrants and the licenses? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? All right, great, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, next up is public comment, and we have...
Don't forget your disclaimer, please.
Oh, thank you. All right, public comment. Public comment is a time for us to discuss anything that is not on the agenda. You have up to 3 minutes to share your thoughts, and Jean has a handy-dandy sign that will let you know when you have 30 seconds left. Please make comment rather than, this is not a time for discussion. If you have a question that's really straightforward to answer, we will, but this is really a time for you to share information that's useful to all. And of course, be polite. With that, we'll start with Martha Mackey, who wants to discuss accessibility.
Martha Mackey, Bennington, Vermont. So I mentioned this at a recent listening session, but I want to harp on it a little bit more. I think it's really important that we try to take on some of the easiest low-hanging fruit to improve our town. And I think that accessibility of our meetings, people being able to be engaged in our town governance is really crucial. So we were talking about hybrid meetings. And this is something I did a little research. It's becoming more and more common throughout the state. And the response was that it may be prohibitively expensive. It's not in the budget. So I was looking, and what I saw is some places are just using Zoom. And I have seen Zoom done in this room for Project Alliance meetings. So it is possible. I would love to hear a quote on just a little bit of research done to see what the cost would be for that, because it may be that it's actually not very expensive at all, and that it could fall within our communications budget or something. So that's all. I just wanted to encourage us to do just that little bit of research to see whether it is possible or not as soon as possible. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, next up is Erin Williams, BCMCC Benefit Concert.
Hello, Erin Williams, Bennington, Vermont. I am here on behalf of the Bennington County Multicultural Community Center to invite everyone in the Bennington community to our benefit concert that is this Wednesday night, March 12th at 7:30. It is brought to you by Bennington College and Vermont Arts Exchange. It is the first in their 2025 Carriage Barn series. It's really cool. The music is Alash, music from tuba. It's tube and throat singing. If you're familiar with that, you know how cool it's going to be, and if you're not, you're in for a great surprise. There will also be food available for sale. It is catered by 2 women in the refugee community who have their own businesses, and all of the proceeds will directly benefit the Bennington County Multicultural Community Center. There will also be art on display by Art Lords, which is an Afghan art group of artists who did the murals on our building, so some of the artists will have their art on display. And you can purchase tickets online. There are posters all over town with a QR code with a link to where you can purchase the tickets. You can also purchase them at the door. And if there's any questions, you can reach out to us right at the Bennington County Multicultural Community Center between now and Wednesday. Thank you.
Super. Erin, do you just want to say where you're located?
Where we're located or where the concert's located?
Well, probably both.
The concert is on the Bennington College campus and Greenwell Auditorium. The center is 120 Union Street. You really can't miss it. It's very colorful.
What time's the concert, Erin?
7:30.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Jerry, I'm going to hold yours until, yeah. And then BAM, Jason Fredrickson.
Jason Fredrickson, Bennington, Vermont. Good evening, members of the Select Board and our resilient Bennington community. Over the past few weeks, we've had incredible conversations about the Bennington Artisan Market, BAM, can be. We've talked about preserving a legacy, fostering creativity, and strengthening our local economy. But tonight I want to focus on something even bigger, the ripple effect of this project. The power of staying open until 9 p.m. What happens when you create a space that doesn't just exist but thrives beyond traditional hours? Keeping BAM open until 9 p.m. is more than a convenience. It's a game changer for downtown Bennington. More people will be walking, shopping, and engaging in town after work, not just on weekends. A stronger nighttime economy means restaurants, cafes, and small businesses see more customers. It also creates opportunities for the community to engage in workshops, creative experiences, and gatherings outside of traditional work hours. This isn't just about extending hours, it's about extending opportunity. a sustainable legacy. For 52 years, Jay and Joan Zwinneberg built more than a business. They built a pillar of our creative and tourism economy. They didn't just run a store, they created a destination for locals and visitors alike. It was a place where artists found the supplies they needed, where customers discovered unique gifts, and where creativity and community came together. By doing this, they kept visitors engaged, encouraged local shopping, and made their store an essential part of downtown Bennington's character. BAM isn't about replacing that legacy, it's about carrying it forward, ensuring that the next 52 years are just as impactful. That means creating a lasting community space where makers, entrepreneurs, and creatives can flourish. It means supporting Jay and Joan as they transition from public life to private care, while ensuring their legacy continues through dedicated spaces, programs, and future opportunities that reflect their impact. It also means building something sustainable, a model that reinvests in Bennington, ensuring this isn't a short-term fix, but a long-term asset for our town, a catalyst for economic growth. This isn't just about the arts, it's about Bennington's economy and future. A thriving downtown means higher foot traffic, stronger businesses, and more reasons for people to visit and stay. And the time is now. BAM is no longer just an idea, it's in motion. Key meetings are underway, the fundraising platform is taking shape, and community partnerships are forming. In the upcoming weeks, we will officially launch the fundraising campaign, a critical step toward making this vision a reality. But this can't happen alone. To succeed, we need all of Bennington, business owners, residents, local leaders, to see this not just as a project, but for our town's future. Follow Bennington Artisan Market on Facebook for updates, event details, and ways to get involved. So tonight, I leave you with this. The more we invest in this idea, the greater the impact we create, not just for today, but for generations to come. Let's build something incredible together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Anyone else like to speak? If you do, raise your hand really high because you're a long way away. Is that everyone? Okay. I just want to clarify the accessibility comment, and Dan, I may turn to you in a moment as well. It's really not the cost of Zoom. We have a Zoom account and have had one since we used it all during COVID, and since then. It's really the equipment to project, to capture the audience and to project. And that's what's expensive, not the Zoom account. We do have an owl, which many people in this room have had the opportunity to see in action. It's not great, but it works well for a small number of people. We already will Zoom anyone in that requests to come to the meeting by Zoom. You just need to contact Paul Danzero 48 hours, I believe, before the meeting in order to do that.
Paul or Jonah.
Or
Jonah Spivak.
Or Jonah Spivak. So that exists. The discussion I think we've had and where we'd like to see this go is to be able to have a truly hybrid meeting, which would require us to invest in equipment that would capture everyone in the room and allow for a lot of people to be on Zoom at the same time. When I've been in other town meetings where they use Zoom routinely, they may have 30 people up on a screen, and our current equipment just will not handle that. Dan, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
No, only that Jonah has done some initial investigations, and it is quite costly to do it correctly, and unfortunately hybrid meetings have their challenges, and the better the equipment, the easier it is to deal with those challenges. But it's never, unfortunately, either an all Zoom or an all in-person meetings are much more effective. Hybrid meetings are difficult, but in order to make them even somewhat tolerable, you need a lot of equipment to make it work.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so next up, we're going to get a sand filter update, which actually is something we really care about a lot. So I'm seeing people come to the podium. So why don't you both come up and introduce yourselves and then share information with us.
I'm Larry Gates, Assistant Director of Public Works for the town of Bennington.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Lewis. I'm from Aldrich and Elliott.
Super. So are you going to share information with us? Is that the plan?
Yes, I will share some information. Yeah, so my name is Jeffrey Lewis. I've been working with the town as your water resource engineer now for many years. The face that you're more familiar with is Wayne Elliott. He unfortunately, or fortunately for him, has retired, and now I'm driving in Wayne's shoes. We've been working with the town specifically on the sand filter going back a few years now. We prepared a preliminary engineering report back in 2022 that looked at the age of the sand filter. And I guess taking one really quick step back. Yep.
Yeah. Would you take one quick step back?
Let me take a pretty big step back. Yeah. I apologize. So I'm here tonight to talk about the wastewater treatment facility. It is a piece of the municipal infrastructure that is vitally important but not often thought about. Usually people flush, and that's about the end of what you think about there. The wastewater treatment facility has many components that go into it, and we had the opportunity to refurbish many of those about 8 or 10 years ago. One piece of the equipment that was not touched is the sand filter that's at the facility. Following secondary and biological treatment, where we remove a lot of the stuff that harms the river, the flow is put through a sand filter right now. It's just basically a big bed of sand that the water passes through and it removes those solids. That's the plan anyways. It hasn't been able to do that for a little bit because of the age and condition of that filter. So there was a study done to look at refurbishing and kind of get that filter back up to modern standards and get it going again. When we finished the sand filter study, the state of Vermont came out and issued a new and revised discharge permit. That's kind of what protects the receiving waterway, and it's the treatment standard that the wastewater treatment facility ultimately strives to meet. One of the things that was in the new discharge permit was a lowered or revised phosphorus limit. Phosphorus is one component of wastewater that is very important. The reason why it's important is because if you have too much phosphorus, then you get that green algae in all of your receiving bodies and the blue-green algae that everybody hears about that closes down beaches. And so we're trying to reduce that across the entire state. We knew at the time that this was a possibility when we did the initial study. There were rumblings that there was going to be a new phosphorus limit. So the town wisely kind of held off and waited to see what happened there. And following the revised limit now, it's lower than we originally anticipated, but we were not originally looking to do anything with phosphorus, and now we've got to do something with phosphorus. So what we need to do now is we need to reopen that study. We need to look at this without just refurbishing the sand filter that's currently there, but in light of trying to meet a new phosphorus limit. So that's what's in front of you tonight. You have a couple things, or I think what's in the program there is a memo for me kind of giving a little bit of background as far as what the background of the history, kind of talks about the revised discharge limit and talks about the study that already exists. In 2022, we did a PER for just refurbishing and age-related refurbishment of the sand filter. And what we're looking to do now is basically open that study back up and update the costs. As everybody knows, costs have increased since 2022. And also reevaluate for what needs to happen for the actual phosphorus removal aspect of the project itself. So there's this yellowish kind of package that's there. The way that this study is going to be funded and what we're proposing to do is to go through the state revolving loan program. The advantage for the town is that the state revolving fund will cover 50% of the engineering costs. So in effect, we have an engineering service agreement in front of you for $29,700, I believe, and the tax or the actual cost implication on the town is half of that. But that's if we go through the state revolving loan program. So we would like that to be signed, and also as part of that, if the board can designate Stu Hurd or the town manager's office as the designated representative, then we can actually execute the engineering service agreement to get going on this project. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. I feel like I just threw a lot out there, but those are the two things that we were putting in front of you at this time.
All right, questions from the select board? Yes, Clark, and then Jean.
Good evening. Good evening. One of my questions or thoughts is this phosphorus concern. As part of the state's process, I've been led to believe detergents and soaps from households are a major component with this. I'm trying to sort out this phosphorus level as it regards water treatment. Are we talking gray water or black water treatment as a source for this significant phosphorus discharge?
Yeah, so phosphorus there's many different things that comprise the phosphorus that comes into a wastewater treatment facility. Domestic wastewater typically coming into a plant, if you have no businesses in your town, you typically have a concentration of phosphorus around 7 milligrams per liter. That's the number that comes in. That goes higher when you have things like dish soaps or anything like that that come in. Your limit and what has to leave the plant after that 7 milligrams coming in is 0.2 milligrams per liter coming out. So basically, even if you don't have any industrial users at all, you have a significant amount that needs to be removed by the process. And the current process that's in place was not designed for and isn't really going to do much to touch that phosphorus. There have been multiple efforts made to reduce phosphorus. Some of those are reducing the amount of phosphorus in soaps or laundry detergents or any of those cleaning products. But at the end of the day, that's kind of like one category and one way that you can look at phosphorus. We as humans excrete some phosphorus, and there is phosphorus in the stream that needs to be treated. If that works, I'm happy to continue following up, not trying to go too far into the weeds.
Oh, no, again, my questions were black water versus gray water sources, and we're going to do this upgrade. I'm just wondering if some of the state is making efforts, which probably isn't your bailiwick, to reduce the load that's being presented at your processor.
Yeah, so there are multiple efforts that the state does to try to cover the amount of phosphorus coming in. If you have any industrial users that could be some of those higher phosphorus producing entities, there's a pre-treatment program that can put a hard cap on the amount of phosphorus that can come out of those industrial users. And they are also making efforts to try to limit the amount of phosphorus available in consumer products as well.
Okay. And are we compliant with this standard they've established? Or?
Yes, we are currently. We're monitor only at this time.
Okay.
And the new limit comes into effect December 31st of 2028. Okay. We have to make steps to get closer to that as time progresses.
Great. Thank you.
Well, you answered one of my questions, and that was, how long do we have to get this fixed? So there you go. I think we all realize by what you just said that we can make choices. There are many, many products for cleaning that say phosphate-free. So anyway, I just want to clarify, and if I'm wrong, tell me, this isn't really a choice. We have to do this to be in compliance.
Yes, basically we have to do it.
Okay.
We don't really have a choice.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Other questions? Nancy?
Is the total cost for the filter replacement in 2021, it was $1.5 to $2 million? Do we know what we're looking at now?
Yes, we don't. That's why we need to do this study right now. It will be a higher number than that number. We're probably in the at least $2 to $3 million range at this point. It will be an expensive project just because of the number of tanks that are required there.
And when I'm reading the other project, filter upgrades, $5 to $8 million, that's totally separate?
I am not 100% sure of exactly what you're talking about right there. I apologize.
It says they haven't been replaced since 1978. That's different from the sand filter, right?
I think you're talking about the water filters.
Mm-hmm. Sorry?
I think you're talking about the water filtration plant filters, 1978.
Okay, but that's separate from this we're talking about, but we're going to have to do that.
This is the sand filter at wastewater, and I believe those that you're seeing there are filtration filters.
Part of the goal and why we're here tonight is to get a study done to update those costs and find out what the actual, what we're looking at here and kind of what the funding sources are and all the fun nitty-gritty details that we're looking to do for the first part of your question.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not sure if this is easy to explain or not, but I would love it if it was. On page 4 of 12, I guess it is, the top chart shows some current fiscal year -2, -1. Can you just explain what I'm looking at so that I understand it?
I can give it a go. I believe this information was provided by the town manager's office. I could be incorrect, but what they're going for is the wastewater fund itself, and those are your budget numbers from current fiscal year -2, current fiscal year -1, current. They're just trying to show the wastewater fund and what the estimated, or what the budget is for the wastewater fund there.
For the town.
For the town, for the wastewater fund itself, not necessarily your general fund, but your wastewater fund on it alone.
So said another way, current fiscal year -2 is the operating expense, current balance -2 fiscal years of operation?
That would be correct. I don't exactly know how you guys do your calendar. It'd be 2023's.
We're on the state fiscal.
State fiscal, yeah. So state fiscal, I think, is 25 right now. So it'd be 2023 fiscal year operating budget for that year. That'd be the audited number for 23. And then 24, 25 would be current, and then 26, 27 would be the proposed going forward. And the reason why that information is collected is because the state is trying to get ahead of any available subsidy, or they're trying to get a good financial picture of your wastewater fund to make sure that they're capturing the most amount of federal dollars, state dollars they can towards the project the year following construction. So finish the project December of 2028, the first payment would be December of 2029 would be when you'd first see a bill. The project cost itself would get locked in when you get a contractor on board. So that would be when we start construction, presumably at the start of 2028. We'll continue to refine our engineers' estimates as we go through the project. And you'll have a project of this size, there will have to be a bond vote, and we'll have completed design at that point, and you'll have an engineer's best guess as far as cost, and then your cost itself will get locked in when the contractor gives their price at the start of the construction.
Great. Any other questions from the select board? Members of the public, anyone have questions?
Such an interesting topic.
It actually really is. And it does look like a swimming pool, guys, full of sand with water bubbling up. All right. So again, the two motions you need, is it to apply for is it to have the town manager sign the application?
The application I would need the select board to sign, so that would be the first motion, would be to approve the application to the state revolving fund.
Okay. Okay.
And to appoint the town manager's office as the designated representative for the project, and to give them permission to execute the engineering service agreement.
Okay.
Which,
all right.
That was the other part that's here, and I threw the most important part out there, which is the number, but the other spiel on the engineering service agreement, we use it's a EJCDC, it's the engineering joint document series that the state requires. This engineering service agreement was sent to the Water Investment Division, and they reviewed it, made sure that this was a reasonable agreement for a project of this size and scope. Any requested revisions were made as far as scope, timing, any of those kind of things that they would want, and then it was sent to you guys for approval afterwards. So this is an engineering service agreement that we prepared that was sent to the state for review in keeping with the idea that there would be a state revolving fund application, and then now it's in front of you guys.
Super. Okay.
I have a question. I think it's probably for Dan. If the second motion there was to authorize the town manager, if we did that motion passed, would the town manager then have the freedom to delegate if necessary?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, why don't we take these motions one at a time then, if there are no more questions? Last chance for questions. All right, so the first motion for the select board to approve the application to the state revolving loan program. Do I have someone make that motion? Yes?
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion on this motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, it's unanimous. Second motion to designate the town manager as the representative for the project and to work with the engineering firm. Yes?
So move.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, unanimous. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much for your time.
Jeannie, I'm going to pass around the resolution, and unfortunately, state law is typically 5 select board members, so Jean and Clark are going to have to sneak their signatures in.
Just double, well, we can double up here, too. Okay.
No, it's okay.
All right. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, next up is the pickleball grant application, which Shannon is going to kick off.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's a great day to think about outdoor pickleball. Spring is coming. So I'm here tonight because I'm preparing a Town of Bennington application for a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that is due at the end of this week on March 15th. The Land and Water Conservation Fund is administered by the Vermont Department of Forest, Parks, and Recreation. And LWCF grants, they provide 50% of the funding for a project for outdoor recreation. So the town has to come up with the other 50% match. These grant funds would support 6 new pickleball courts at Willow Park. At the current location where they would go, there are 2 temporary courts that were installed last summer, but this would expand it to 6, and it would be in an area that there used to be a little skate park there that was dismantled some time ago, and there's another small basketball court, so that whole area would become pickleball courts. It's right off of the center parking area. The total cost of the project is $309,598, and so this grant would cover half of that cost, $154,799. The town's match would come from the in-kind work from our highway and buildings and grounds departments, as well as from the Penny for Parks funds. So the Penny for Parks is a penny on the tax rate. Every year it generates a little more than $100,000. So $300,000 of those funds were designated for the skate park that's under construction. But by the time of this construction, when it would be, if we get the grant, we would have the funds and would be able to start in the summer of 2026. And so the Penny for Parks funds would be available. So I am asking for the Select Board for a motion to proceed with the grant application and utilize the Penny for Parks funds with that grant agreement as the town match for the pickleball court construction. But before I do that, I think we have some folks in the audience who are here to talk about pickleball. So if they want to come up.
Hi, my name is Jerry Wall. I'm the leader of the Bennington Pickleball Club. I'm also the district ambassador for Southern Vermont for USA Pickleball. I started playing pickleball in 2013 in the YMCA's of Albany, New York. I loved it as soon as I started. It was easy to learn. It was easy to get better at. It was a lot of fun. And I found that I was meeting new people everywhere I went. And before I retired, I covered all of New England and upstate New York, and everywhere I went, everywhere I go, I played. And I found this same thing, this same sense of family, sense of community that was unlike any sport that I had ever played before. My first task when I became ambassador was to introduce pickleball to Bennington. And that happened in May of 2015 with a group of 13 people and a taped-out court with Tim Brown's blessing at the Mount Anthony High School. That was the beginning of Bennington Pickleball. Over the course of time since then, in the last 10 years, we have grown our members every single year. In the last 3 years, we've been over 100 people actively playing pickleball. Out of those original 13, one of those people started a group in Cambridge. Out of that Cambridge group, one of the people started a group in Hoosick Falls. Manchester people heard what we were doing. They came down and joined us, and eventually they started their own thriving club up in Manchester. This is just like what was happening all over the country. Pickleball has been the fastest growing sport in America for the last 4 consecutive years. It is estimated that last year 19.8 million people participated and played pickleball. With all this growth came need for courts. And over these last 10 years, we've been able to sustain with what we've had, but the last 2 years, we've had to start putting limits on how many people could play during our particular sessions. That brought us to last spring, when a group of us, Phil Pappas, who was the former owner of Paradise Inn, one of your former colleagues, Gary Corey, and myself reached out to the Recreation Department to see about the possibility of adding 2 or 3 courts to the seldom-used Stark Street playground. Mark Sawyer of Recreation Department met with us, and he understood what we were looking for, but he warned us that we were going to have a lot of pushback from the neighbors, because apparently you had some pushback in the past because of basketball playing and skateboarding or whatever. So he recommended that we let him look into the feasibility of building courts in Willow Park. And Willow Park, the noise factor is something that communities all across the country have had to experience and deal with. And even though pickleball paddle manufacturers have tried to make ways to make the impact of the ball on the paddle soften, and the ball manufacturers have tried to make balls that were softer, when you have 12, 16, or 20 people hitting a plastic ball on a solid paddle, you're going to get noise. So we understood that, and that's why the beauty of Willow Park, with 6 courts, we can have 24 people playing, hitting that ball, and we're not going to bother anybody, because we're down in the valley where Shannon had indicated. So we met with Mark a few weeks later and did dimensions and talked about details and over the next 2 or 3 months, and talked about procedures and what we needed to do, and Shannon was very helpful in getting us started on the grants. I want to mention, though, that pickleball spans all ages. Kids are learning it in middle school. It's part of the curriculum, the phys ed curriculum at the high school. And in our club, our age range ranges from 25 to 85. In fact, last year we had 4 people over 80 who were actively playing. I would say that the majority of our group is between the ages of 55 and 75. So you can see there's a lot of benefit to seniors to be able to stay off the couch, be outside, be active, breathe our fresh air. It's a sport that's easy to learn. You can play at your desired level. And again, I don't want to underemphasize the importance of the pickleball community and the feeling of family. I'll also mention that for the last 3 years, we have helped organize and run the Meals on Wheels pickleball tournament in September. An event that we generally raise between $4,000 and $5,000 for that very needy cause that helps our senior citizens and those in need. And the people who are coming to do that, a number of them have to stay in our hotels, they have to eat in our restaurant, and they get to experience what Bennington, Vermont is all about. By the same token, we've also been fortunate in attracting pickleball camps. I know you have a letter from Polly Vanderlyn in your packet. She's had some professionals come and run camps, and I've been able to bring in one of the nationally recognized companies, Engage Pickleball, for the last 5 years. And they nationally advertise their camps, and over those 5 years, we consistently have people that are coming from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. So again, those people need to stay in our hotels, they need to eat in our restaurants, and they also get to experience Bennington, Vermont. I just want to share one more thing with you. I received an email today from one of our members, Kathy Thompson. Some of you may know Kathy. Unfortunately, her husband passed away this summer. But she wanted me to read this to you, and she said, "I had planned on attending the board meeting tonight, but I'm not feeling well. I will be there in spirit, and if you want, you can pass on my message that pickleball has been a lifesaver for me, especially since Archie passed away. It is not just about a sport. It is a source for social connections that keep me from feeling alone and isolated, as I am sure it is for many others. These last 7 months would have been so much more difficult without our welcoming pickleball friends. It is also an excellent source of exercise that can be enjoyed from age 8 to 80. I have taught a summer camp for middle schoolers and played with 90-year-olds. Everyone has a place on the court. There are very few sports that can boast that. So I thank you for considering our proposal. I want to thank Shannon and Mark and Dan for their continued support, guidance, and direction as we move through this process. And I also want to thank a lot of people who are in this room that are members of our pickleball community who have the same crazy love for this crazy game with the crazy name.
So you know who to call when you need some people to show up, talk to the pickleball people. Thank
fantastic.
you, Terry. Well, that is wonderful. It's great to see such a good crowd, and it's so positive. I think I need to learn how to play pickleball. I'm sold. But I did want to talk just quickly before I ask for this motion about the grant. This is a wonderful opportunity through the Land and Water Conservation Fund, but it does come with some stipulations, which is the conservation piece. So all of these LWCF grants require that the area that you are doing the project for outdoor recreation is conserved in perpetuity for outdoor recreation. So the way that I have drawn up the map for the grant application is to conserve the upper part of Willow Park. Willow Park is about 60 acres. I've learned a lot about it in this process. It was sold to the town in 1840 and became part of what was called the Bennington Town Farm. And so those 60 acres basically are split in half if you think about the two lower fields and the large parking lot and the lower pavilion being one half, and then the upper area being the ball fields, the courts, the dog park, the slope, and the upper pavilion and the BMX track being the second half. So that half is the parcel that I am proposing would be conserved. So we don't have to figure that out right now because first of all, we have to get the grant, and be awarded the grant, but part of that grant agreement would be putting that parcel into conservation. So that is something to consider. But that said, I think this is a wonderful opportunity, obviously with great public support, and it's a good way to get it done in the summer of 2026. Do you have any other questions?
So the parcel doesn't have to be in the grant application right now?
Well, I do have to create a boundary of what the conserved area would be, and part of that requirement is that it is accessible, so it needs to have parking, an accessible path. So that's why that upper area is so great, right around where the court is.
Shannon, is there any expectation that we wouldn't be conserving all of Willow Park? Are you just being cautious, or is there
I'm being
something-
cautious.
Okay.
Yeah, just in case if there was ever I've looked into the regulations, and there are some building can be approved if it's for recreation. Even like an indoor swimming pool or other kinds of indoor recreation. But if there was ever a reason that we wanted to build something else, it's nice to have an option of land still available on that parcel. I talked to Dan about that.
We have to remember this is an easement in perpetuity, so we're making a decision for generations ahead. So we need. I would counsel not to preserve the entire site, but as the 30 acres, half probably makes sense.
Got it. Okay. Nancy, you had a question?
Yeah. Shannon, the $150,000 from the local level, the money the taxpayers already have in the pennies for parks, including what they put in last fall, isn't that all committed to the skateboard park?
There, 300,000 has been committed, but that will already have been expended, and there'll be another 100,000 plus by the time that this would be constructed.
But right now, we're really at zero after the skateboard park, correct?
Yes, until, I believe that those funds are replenished in November. Yeah.
So that means next summer, you're going to need $154,000, but the taxpayers will only be putting about $100,000 into the fund in the fall.
No, that's a good question. The other 50,000 is coming from our town labor, because our town highway department, thank you to our town highway department, and buildings and grounds will be doing the work. So all of that labor has been, and materials have been accounted for, and that's part of the match.
But that's coming from the local taxpayers, correct?
It's coming from the staff time.
It's in kind.
In kind.
Would there be any way to come up with that extra $50,000 rather than the local people at Bennington funding it all, since they're already putting $100,000 into the Pennies for Parks Fund?
I suppose so. I mean, but then we would have to raise additional money, and you're saying not use our town staff? Because by using the town staff, I mean, by working with our town staff to get it done, and it is, over a year away.
But I understand that, but our taxpayers pay for the town staff. And it's great we have them to do projects, but we're already charging our own taxpayers an extra $100,000 a year. So that money is there, and now I'm hearing another $50,000 from what our taxpayers are paying the town employees to do the work. That's
I don't
the
think we
concern
would
that I
save
have.
$50,000 if we didn't do this project. I want to make that point. We're not going to save $50,000 in labor by not having the town staff do this project.
They would be they would just be working on other things. So this is not like they're working on a private project. This is improvements to our own public property. So it's perfectly appropriate for our staff to be working there. Obviously, it's up to you folks if you want to use the in-kind match, but that's usually the best way to get the cost to the taxpayer down, is to use in-kind labor.
Right. Yes. And we also have another thing that can be counted as in-kind are professional services. So I want to give a big thank you to Gary Corey from Centerline Architects, because he put all of his time into drafting the site plans, et cetera, and the budget, the work plan, along with Mark Sawyer from our Assistant Director of Facilities. So their time can be accounted as that match as well.
And do you know the average cost each year to maintain the courts when they're done?
I don't know that, but I think they're fairly easy to maintain, because it's really just keeping them clean of debris. They've been sealed. That's probably an annual thing that has to be done.
And do they need to be resurfaced every so many years?
Probably, but I don't know exactly how often. That's probably a question for pickleball enthusiasts.
Same as what you do for tennis courts.
Well, I know right now we're charging our taxpayers an extra, I think, $11,000 a year for the tennis courts and the pool, and I think that should have been coming from the Pennies for Parks. I mean, that's a park, those are tied to our parks.
I think there was another fund available for that was designated from the rec center, so that is why that other funding is being used. But I also want to make sure that if there are any other questions from other select board members. Anyone else have a question? Yes.
Great thing. I wasn't aware of this rage thing. You'll have to join yeah, it's a great thing. I wasn't aware it was the rage out there. I guess maybe I have to join in to see what's so cool. We talk about in-kind work. I've heard Mr. Hurd in the past mention other grants where in-kind was going to be requested. So is this kind of a, yes, we can have in-kind payments, or we have to ask the state or the funding agency, are they willing to permit us to have this in-kind
Well,
funding?
we had to put in a pre-application where we put the same budget saying that this would be our in-kind match, and we were approved for the full application. So that means
Okay, so
we can
the
use that.
in-kind element is already a go. We
Yes.
come up with the money, it's not a problem. That's what like I said, I've heard Mr. Hurd mention in the past, we have to ask about it. So now you're telling me we have asked and they said okay.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Jean, sorry.
This is a very quick question, and it's not going to affect the way I vote. Is any of this money going to be able to be spent on seating, like benches?
I believe that in the budget, we are going to have a couple of benches and lighting.
Ooh, nice.
As well, all around the courts.
Great.
And fencing, because otherwise the balls are going to go way down that hill.
I just have a comment, if I could make it. I've been hearing about pickleball for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, and I have been getting some pressure from a neighbor of mine whose name happens to be Gary Corey. So Gary, if you're watching from home tonight, I accept the invitation. I apparently need to learn how to play pickleball. This is terrific for Bennington. So like other people, thank you. So many other people have thanked the staff and the volunteers who have put this plan together, and I echo the thank yous.
Gary really wanted to be here tonight.
Yes, please go to the microphone so Cat TV can pick up.
I just want to say Gary really wanted to be here tonight, but he's out of town and is really hopeful what's going to happen.
Thank you. All right.
Congratulations, Jerry.
Yeah.
Sarah?
One question for you, sir. I don't know anything about pickleball. Can you just give me a cost of what, like a racket, I'm not sure what they're called, and a pickleball could cost?
Rackets range anywhere from $49 to $200, and you go according to your skill level. As you get better, you get better paddles. Pretty much, the club provides the balls, they provide the nets. So all you need is a paddle and a willingness to have a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great question.
So I kind of could see some opportunities here for maybe the library to have a lending library, some just
great idea.
Thinking of things here that might
great. That's great.
Bring more people in.
Yes.
I want to support this, but I don't think a lot of people realize that our taxpayers of Bennington owe between $400,000 and $600,000 for upgrades and repairs at the rec center, and nobody's talked about that for 3 years, and I don't know what needs to be done and when that needs to be done. Would there be any chance when people are just playing, when they aren't tournaments or special fundraisers, is there any plan for people who don't live in Bennington who want to use the courts that they would charge a fee?
At this point, the courts will be free, but that can always be a change that the select board can make if you decide to charge.
I think that's what I would look to do something to help the local taxpayers with all the other things, because they're the only ones that are going to share the cost. And I'd welcome people from other towns, but we need to start getting some help for the local taxpayers.
I just have a comment, if I could follow that. I think I heard that there is no impact to taxpayers directly because of the way that this application has been completed and where the match is coming from. We have a Pennies for Parks funds that's already approved by taxpayers. Taxpayers agreed when they approved that 1 cent per 1,000 of value should go into a park earmark, and the staff and the volunteers have found a way for us to fund the rest through using our own employees, which is employment security and all the things that come with that. So I want to remind taxpayers who are listening that there isn't a direct impact. Thank you.
Great. Yes, Tom.
Yeah, and I'd like to emphasize again the potential benefit to area businesses, because you mentioned the tournament that you guys have annually. I spoke to people that were up here for that tournament. They came from pretty far away. I talked to people from as far away as Florida that came up here to play in that tournament, and they had to stay in hotels, they had to eat in restaurants. So I think the more of these things that we can have, I also think of the disc golf tournaments that they have, that people come from far away to play disc golf in Bennington. So the more of these things that we can actually do to draw people into town to play these sports, they're going to be creating an additional economic benefit to the community, and I think that can't be underestimated.
That's a good point. There's also so much already at Willow Park that we've been investing in more recently, between the new playgrounds, the dog park, the disc golf, the BMX track. I mean, it's a great park. I just went there today to take photos, and every time I think, wow, I didn't realize that was here. You know, there's something new.
Great. Any more comments from either the public? Oh, yes, please, come on up. Well, you have to come up to a microphone so Cat TV catches you. Sorry. So please state your name and town of residence.
John Camilio, North Bennington, Vermont. I've heard a lot of mention about taxpayers. If we look back here, virtually everyone is a Bennington taxpayer. So we do support the rec center. We do support the dog park. We do support the skateboard place. We support everything. So when someone mentions that taxpayers are being burdened, I don't look at it as burden. All these things that we vote for every year, we support. So we're looking back for some more support to fund this project that, I mean, look at the amount of people we're talking about. So we are taxpayers. I've lived in Vermont since 1973. I've paid a lot of taxes. Everyone here pays taxes. I can guarantee everyone here supports every kind of recreational project that has ever come up in the last 50 years in this town. So I just wanted to make that clear, because I got the feeling that we were talking about another group of taxpayers who are paying for everything, and we are all. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a
Anyone
good
else?
segue to let me just say, that's a good segue to a comment, or to the findings of several studies that have been conducted over the years regarding what Bennington taxpayers are looking for in investment. Housing and recreation were the top two.
Hi, John Wittenbecker, Pownell, Vermont. I just wanted to reemphasize the economic impact of pickleball courts. The proposed pickleball courts that we're talking about would be some of the best pickleball courts in the area. I go to different areas to play pickleball. I don't see a facility like this anyplace else that I go. Perhaps up in Stratton, you know, if I wanted to commute from Pownell to Stratton to play pickleball. But when my wife and I go to play pickleball, we plan it around other activities, you know. Come to Bennington, we're going shopping and Stop and Shop in Hannaford's. Wrong. When I go to North Adams, it's Stop and Shop, or we go to Tunnel City. We plan it around these activities, around other errands that we're doing. In Bennington, we'll go to the coffee shop. We'll go to Tunnel City and Williamstown when I go to North Adams. And when I go to Manchester, there's a slew of stores that we use, you know, natural health food stores, things like that. So I just wanted to emphasize, people coming here, and they will come here for these nice courts, will be spending money in the community.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak or have a question? Yes, please.
Thank you. Tim Wheeler from Bennington. I just make a quick point related to your point, Nancy, about charging. Many of us, I certainly go to many clubs around Bennington. So I go to Hoosick Falls, I go to Manchester, I go to who knows where to play pickleball. So our community really is quite fluid, and so maybe instead of charging, we should think of it as reciprocal, because we go to Manchester as much as they come here. So it's a big community, and this is a great opportunity for Bennington to stand out. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Bill Knight. I'm a Bennington resident and a pickleball player, of course. We talk about the economic impact. Bennington, for the size it is, actually doesn't have a lot of really nice pickleball courts. I know we've been to some tournaments, and actually John and I last year played up in the state tournament. We had to go all the way to Colchester to play up there. They have a beautiful facility, but it's a long way to go. And then we talked to the people up there about perhaps bringing it closer down here to Bennington. So I think if we had some bigger courts, some nicer courts, and 6 courts would be good, because it takes quite a few courts. But the state tournament was great. We had a great time. And another thing, the emphasis here that Jerry talked about, the fact that all ages play, and that's another thing that's great. As you look around, you don't have to be a 25-year-old Olympic player to play. I'm in my late 70s, and I play religiously 3 days a week. And in the summertime, sometimes it's hard to even get to play. There's so many people wanting to play what used to be Paradise Downs Vervana. But it's great entertainment. You meet a lot of people. My wife plays. There's 3 or 4 couples here I see. It's great, and relationships are made, and it's just a great sport. And I think the sport, I was playing racquetball, and my partners all got to where they couldn't play anymore, so I transitioned into pickleball. So I think pickleball extends your athletic life, and it becomes another activity for you in our golden years, as they say. So, thank you.
Thank you. Are we ready for a motion? A motion to proceed with the grant application and utilize the Penny for Parks funds as the town match for the pickleball courts construction.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's unanimous.
Yay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, that brings us to the manager's report.
Okay. We do have one action item this evening, and I'm just going to read it because it includes a lot of information. This was prepared by...
Well, do we want to take a second? If you want to leave now, go ahead and do that. But the acoustics in this room are such that, yeah, do it quietly, please.
Thank you for visiting once you exit the room.
I'm Lori Camilio, and I just want to thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Now we're seeing the power of pickleball. The manager's report apparently is not.
Well, we do have some fun things to talk about in the manager's report, so.
Okay, guys. All right. Dan.
So we do have one action item this evening. It involves the Better Bennington Corporation event for 2025. And I'm just going to read this because there's a lot of information here. But the BBC seeks permission to close Main Street from the Four Corners East to Valentine Street and School Street from Main to Pleasant Street for May Fest, which is on May 24th, Harvest Fest, which is on October 18th, from 5 a.m. until 6 p.m. They're also seeking closures for the Hemmings Cruise-Ins, Main Street from Four Corners East to Valentine Street, and School Street from Main to Pleasant Street on May 15, June 19, July 17, August 14, and September 11, all from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. The action requested is a motion to close the above referenced streets as noted, contingent upon receiving a special events permit from the town. And those applications are currently underway. All that information has been submitted to the appropriate parties.
I'd like to move that motion to the floor.
Excellent. Any discussion?
Second upon applications requested.
Yes, that is part of the motion. Okay. Any other questions?
I just want to clarify, I believe Bill Clark is now the one who, rather than the police, paying the police to close off the road, I believe Bill's doing that now. Is that accurate?
I don't know. All those details will be worked out as part of the special.
Yeah, it's just, I guess what I'm saying is, they were paying the police to do that, and they won't have to do that anymore.
Well, the police will still need to be there.
I know,
yeah,
but not for the road closure.
The actual barrier, installing barriers. And that's a good thing if that's true, because now we have police officers fighting crime and keeping us safe rather than hauling barriers. So, Bill, if that's true, Mr. Clark, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Anyone in the audience? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? It's unanimous. All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Anything else on manager's
I just have one informational item, and that's on March 17th. Vermont DEC and Bennington College are holding a meeting to discuss the findings and evaluation of well sampling data from wells around the former Chem Fab site in Bennington and North Bennington. And that meeting will be held right here in the fire facility beginning at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, any questions about anything in the manager's report from the select board? No? Okay. Next up, upcoming agendas. All right, so the things that we know about are EV chargers are coming again. This time, hopefully, we will actually have it on the agenda. The emergency management plan, heat annex will be discussed. And
cool, right? Heat cool.
No, it's just heat.
Just heat for that.
It's just
first
heat.
meeting. Thank you.
And then also there is a April Career Month proclamation. And those are the only things I know about.
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
I thought we were going to be talking about, what is the program that Ben High needs for energy? The program that we're supposed to enter into?
Umbrella.
No, that we already.
Umbrella.
No.
That was part of the Ben High.
Something as far as for the solar?
No?
There's nothing to talk about.
No, I think you've raised that before, but it has nothing to do with us.
It's in the contract. Talks about the town of Bennington net metering.
Dan?
So, Nancy, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'd be happy to meet with you to talk. You could show me with it.
Well, it says it right in the contract about.
Well, there will be some net metering, but it isn't anything that the town needs to talk about. It's in the development agreement that there will be solar.
And this board already authorized the town manager to enter into that agreement.
And that agreement has not been amended from what the board looked at and approved.
So we don't have any action to take.
All right, okay, so next up are brief select board announcements. We changed the name on this after a lot of comments from the public and also a lot of concern about we were straying in this section into possibly violating open meeting law. We cannot have discussion on items that are not duly warned. This, the select board announcements was originally determined to be a time when we could let the public know if there was a play at Mount Anthony or if there was a fair coming up or something that was basically a public comment from the select board side. So, so we've tried to make that clear. And Sarah, I would start with you.
Yes. So I'd like to publicly wish my dad a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday to Sarah's dad.
That's great.
Anybody else wants to wish my dad happy birthday?
Together. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Just kind of kidding.
I hope he's watching. That's good.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
All right. All right. Well, I wanted to publicly thank Cindy Danu at Adecco. So several weeks ago, I was helping dear friends pack up to move to Virginia, and they had moved here earlier in the summer from Afghanistan, and he is a certified electrician, and she has what would be an LPN nursing credential. And so in the final week, we were trying to do everything from, I don't know, make sure the electricity was going to be turned off to sending boxes, and they had their list, and because I don't read Dari or speak it, I'm making my own list, and I'm like, what's on your list? And the man said, well, I need to make sure that I stop by and thank Cindy at Adecco for everything she's done for us. And I was, I was surprised because we were in the middle of a very stressful, cleaning out the house. And what he said was that in the very first week that he moved to Bennington, She sat down with him, found him a temporary job that he started in week 2 of living in a new country, and as a temp employee at NSK, and then once he finished his probationary period, he actually was hired on with her help as a full-time employee at NSK, and that she made sure that everything ran really smoothly. And so on the one hand, I think, we all say, well, that's her job, right? She runs a temp agency and she should be doing that. But, it's how often do you actually hear people go out of their way to say thank you to someone from a temp agency? So I don't know. I was really touched, and for me, it really speaks to who we are as a community and how willing we are to go the extra mile and make sure that everybody is able to accomplish what they can while they're here. So, I just wanted to publicly thank Cindy and ADECO for everything they do for this community and also for what they did for my friends. On to you. Okay.
I just want to thank everyone that came out to vote on town meeting day, but I would like to point out that the turnout, while it was fairly good, was only about average for town meeting day, and we can do better and should. So if you did not vote on town meeting day, please make an effort to vote in the future. We make it as easy as humanly possible to vote in Vermont, and there's really no excuse. So thank you.
All right, Clark.
I haven't really been keeping track, but I know this is at least the 3rd time Tom has been reading my mind and stealing my thunder. So either great minds think alike, or I have loose thought free association. I don't normally go over to Troy, but I was there this weekend. It was Shirley. I don't know if you know, yesterday was officially Shirley Day. And my wife is Shirley, so she is making blankets for some of our great nieces and nephews, so we had to go to Joanne Fabric, and that Colony Mall is like fingernails on a chalkboard. So that was, for Shirley Day, we went to Joanne Fabric and had dinner over there, so she's not here today, but she knows Shirley Day is every day in Clarkland.
I'll see.
This is a state story, not necessarily a local story, but some of you may be aware that there was an incredibly awful snow squall that caused havoc on Route 91. 2 people died. And I heard, I think it was maybe VT Digger, I don't know where, my husband was telling me about this, that people were stranded on 91 for hours while they were probably trying to clear the road, and there were multiple accidents. And area businesses brought food, support, just to be with these people that were stranded out in a snowstorm. Possibly, this was not their home state. I'm thinking they were, passing through or had been skiing and they were on their way home. And it just really restored my faith in humanity. Like, what a lovely thing for, this brave little state to do. It just really, really made me feel good.
Thank you. Nancy?
Sure. The purpose of other business at select board meetings for decades have been so that a person on a board could share with the rest of the board and the public a question or concern that a citizen may have contacted them with, or that board member may have a question or concern on a project or program that's currently underway. And I hope that we don't have that right taken away to ask questions. The other thing is, most people in Bennington who pay water and sewer bills, you're town taxpayers, and you need to be aware we have multiple water and sewer projects that we're going to have to pay for. These are critical needs for the town. I've tried for a couple of years to have this on the agenda because people have a right to know what each project is and what it's going to cost. And the numbers I'm looking at were on a list officials put out in late 2021. Most people have never read it. I wish the list would get moved where it is currently on the town webpage to another page so people can see. Just quickly, and these are from 3 years ago. Chapel Hill tank replacement, $3 million. It's expensive to maintain as it deteriorates. Relining the sewer interceptor, $3 to $3.5 million. Substantial savings if it's relined now before it gives out. Raw water tank replacement, $4 to $4.5 million. I brought up the filter upgrades that are different from what we heard tonight, $5 to $8 million. And I think there's a couple others I've left out. So when I question spending on new projects, I'm looking at critical needs I know we have to pay for, and a lot of you aren't aware of it. So again, whether you're a town taxpayer or a water and sewer user, this is going to impact everybody in Bennington, and I think this board has to start getting on the ball and doing things long-term so public understands what's going on.
Thank you. We have need an executive session for litigation. I would ask for a motion.
Motion to adjourn for executive session.
So, second.
Great. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming and staying to the end.